If you just started learning scale retouching or photo editing in 2025, you should watch this video to the end. In this video, I want to explain in details how you can smooth skin using focus separation. And to save you time creating focus separation or retouching actions from scratch, I'll be giving you my actions for free, which you are going to be using to retouch this image. And to get that action, check the pinned comment or the description below of this video. Let's jump right into the video. First, let me show you how to install the action. So after you've downloaded the action, to install it, just come to your Windows right here and click on Actions. Okay, once you click on Action, click on this hamburger icon and click on Load Actions. Once you click on Load Actions, just look for the place where you save the file which you downloaded. For example, it's on my download, so I'm just going to scroll the way down and see the file right here, Teelens action. All I have to do is open it and it will automatically open inside of Photoshop. And if you're still confused on how to download and install this action to Photoshop, don't worry, because I'll be leaving a video that explains in details how to download it and install it inside of Photoshop, and I'll be leaving that link in the description below of this video so you can check it out. Now, to smooth this skin using focus separation, the first thing we want to consider is the blemishes. Now, before any skin can be smooth, we need to first of all take our time to remove the blemishes. So we're going to be doing that with focus separation. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate my background layer by pressing Command J or Ctrl J. After we duplicate our background layer, after you've installed the action, all you have to do is come to your Windows and click on the action. Now, if your action is not like this and it's something like this, all right, so don't worry, all you have to do is click on this three dot icon and click on this button mode, and you are going to get this colored action right here. Like I said, this is a detailed tutorial and I'm going to explain it step by step for you to understand. Now, if you open the action, you are going to see Teelens focus separation, which is Teelens FS 16-bit and Teelens FS 8-bit. Now, if your image is 8-bit, you can use the Teelens focus separation 8-bit. If your image is 16-bit, you can use the Teelens focus separation 16-bit. Now, to know if your image is 8-bit or 16-bit, all you have to do is come to your image, click on Mode, and you are going to see right here if your image is 8-bit or 16-bit. Now, mine is on 16-bit, so I'm going to use Teelens focus separation 16-bit. All right, so I open my action. I already have my actions here, but if yours is not here, remember, come to Windows and click on Action, and it's going to open. So I'm going to click on Teelens focus separation 16-bit right here. Now, once I do that, for the Gaussian blur radius, it's very important. If you want your image to be smooth, use a low blur radius. If you want to retain texture or your image, use a high blur radius. And there is no perfect blur radius, just use what works for you. But for headshot like this, I use a radius between 10 to 20. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to use 10 and hit OK. Now, don't worry, if you use 10 and you feel the image is not smooth enough, you can actually run another focus separation on top of the existing one and use a low blur radius until you feel it's smooth enough. Now, once you run the focus separation action, we have some layers right here inside the group. We have the high frequency copy, we have the high frequency texture, and we have the low frequency, which consists of the colors. So the high frequency consists of the textures, while the low frequency consists of the colors. Now, since we want to first of all remove the blemishes before we start smoothing out the skin, to remove the blemishes, make sure your high frequency copy layer is selected. Very important. So the first thing you want to do, I'm going to take it slow. All right. So the first thing you want to do is to remove the blemishes. And once you run the focus separation action, make sure the high frequency copy layer is selected, which is the first one, because that is the layer we are going to be using to remove blemishes from our image. Okay. Now, once that is selected, we are going to pick our close stamp tool. All right. So once your close stamp tool is selected, for your brush, make sure you're using a soft round brush. All right. So if you are retouching, make sure all your brush you are using is a soft round brush so that you're going to get soft edges. It's important. All right. So once I have a soft round brush, for my mode, make sure the mode is on normal, opacity set to 100, flow set to 100, align is selected, and I'm going to put it on current layer. So for the sample, make sure it's on current layer. All right. So once that is done, I'm just going to zoom in and remove the blemishes right now. Now, pay close attention. To remove blemishes for your image, make sure you are increasing and decreasing your brush size according to the blemishes you want to remove. So for example, if I want to remove these blemishes right here, I'm going to reduce my brush size and just press Option So once I press option or alternate, you are going to see that icon has changed. So let me just increase the brush size. So you can see the brush size right now. For example, if I want to remove the blemishes, immediately I press alternate and option. So press and hold alternate and option. You can see the icon have changed. So right now, all you have to do is click to sample from a good part that you want to use to fill the blemishes. All right. So I want to reduce my brush size. We're pressing on the square bracket key. So like this works. So option, hold option or alternate. Once you see this icon, click to sample and just brush over the blemishes. You can see it's gone. Alternate option to sample, click and paint, it's gone. Alternate option to sample, click and paint, it's gone, just like that. All right, so this is how you can remove blemishes using frequency separation if you want to smooth out the skin. All right, so option alternate to sample. Make sure you are sampling from a good part of the image to fill the blemishes like that. It's very important. So if you want to make your skin smooth, make sure you take your time to remove blemishes from your image. So to remove blemishes, like I said earlier, increase and decrease your brush size according to the blemishes you want to remove. Press and hold option to sample and paint. Press and hold option to sample and paint. Press and hold option to sample and paint, just like that. So I'm going to be doing that for the whole of this image right now. All right, we finished removing the blemishes from this image. See the before and the after. You can see, take a look at the forehead, the before and the after. The before and the after. They are no longer there. Now it's time to mix the color, thereby smoothing the skin. Now to do that, we're going to be using a mixer brush tool, and we're going to be brushing on this empty layer right here. Now the advantage of working on this empty layer right here, it's you can actually create multiple empty layer and brush the face separately, brush the hand separately, brush the body separately on different empty layer if you want to do that. Don't worry, I'm going to explain more. Another advantage is if you make a mistake, you can actually delete that mistake instead of deleting the whole frequency. You can erase that mistake and start from that particular place instead of deleting the whole frequency portion and starting all over again. So I'm going to show you how that works as well. So to smooth the skin or to mix the color rather, we're going to be using a mixer brush tool. So pick a mixer brush tool. And for my mixer brush settings, this is the settings I use personally for me. I'm using a soft round brush. So any settings that works for you, it's fine. So I'm using a soft round brush. Make sure clean brush is selected and also clean brush after each stroke is selected. That is because if you paint, it will automatically clean the brush for you. So make sure clean brush after each stroke is selected. My weight is on 30. My load is on 30. Mix really doesn't matter. You can leave it at 100 or 0. Mix really doesn't matter because here is on transparent. Okay. So flow is on 20. This place right here is on 10%. Sample all layer is selected. Now, the reason why sample all layer is selected is because I'm brushing on this empty layer. All right. That's why sample all layer is selected. If I'm working directly on the low frequency, it doesn't matter if sample layer is selected or not. Now, let me show you. Since this is an empty layer and I uncheck this sample layer, if I just brush with my mixer brush tool, it's not going to do anything. As you can see, nothing is happening because it's an empty layer and sample all layer is not checked. So nothing is going to happen. All right. So if you want to see the effect, make sure sample all layer is selected. All right. Now pay close attention. This is another mistake I see a lot of people making. Before you start brushing with the mixer brush tool, make sure your high texture layer is turned off. All right. So right now it's turned on. If I brush right now, it's just going to add those textures, unwanted textures on the image, as you can see. So this is a lot of mistake a lot of people make. Now, since this is an empty layer, once I do this, what I can do, instead of deleting the whole frequency portion and starting all over again, I can just pick my eraser tool and just erase that effect. So this is one of the advantage of using this empty layer. So once I erase that effect, the correct way to brush is to pick a mixer brush tool. Make sure your high texture layer is turned off. Okay, so once you turn it off, you can see we have just the color. Right now, if I brush, I'm not going to have that effect again. It's just going to mix the color for me because our high texture layer is turned off. So see the before and the after, as you can see. Now to brush, make sure you are brushing your highlights separately. It's very important. Please do not brush highlights into shadow, especially if you're just starting out. I know it takes time to learn, but just do it. Don't brush highlight into shadow and dot brush shadows into highlights. It's important. All right, make sure we avoid it, because if you do that, it's just going to change the face of the subject and just make your image flat, because highlights and shadow are what makes up image. All right, so if I want to brush, I'll be brushing this highlight separately, and also I'll be increasing and decreasing my brush size according to that particular highlight. So let me explain that. For example, if I want to work on this highlight on the face, on the nose rather, I'm going to reduce my brush size like this. Sorry, let me create a new, let me use the normal brush tool. Okay, I'm going to brush on this highlights. Sorry, this is a hard brush. I don't like using hard brush, soft one brush. All right, so if I want to work on the highlights, I'm going to brush on this small highlight. I'm going to reduce my brush size to face this highlight separately. If I want to work on this big shadow right here, I'm going to increase my brush size to fit this shadow right here. As you can see, if I want to work on this big highlight on the forehead, I'm going to increase my brush size like this to fit this highlight on the forehead, as you can see. So I'm not going to be using a small brush like this to brush this highlight. No, I'm not going to be doing this. Instead, what I'll do, pay close attention. This is a detailed tutorial, like I said earlier. What I'll do, I'm going to increase my brush size and use a big brush to brush that particular place. All right, so that's how it works. For a big portion, use a big brush size. For a small portion, use a small brush size, and try not to brush highlights into shadow. Another thing I want you to know, try to brush according to the shape of the face. All right, so try to brush according to the shape of the face. That's another thing. Now, if you don't know what that means, let me just quickly explain it. Now, if I want to brush on the shadow part now, I like brushing in shadow, so I like brushing in circle rather. So I'm going to brush like this according to the shape of the face. As you can see, I'm not going to brush like this straight down. No, I'm not going to do like this. Instead, I'm going to brush to this direction according to the shape of the face. I hope you get the idea I'm trying to make. All right, so I'm just going to brush this right now. Pick my mixer brush tool, turn off my high texture layer. So right now you can see the image is kind of blurry because we have only the color. Increase my brush size, all right, and just paint the highlight separately, as you can see. And brush the shadow separately. Another thing I want to mention, for the transition between the highlight and the shadow, make sure you use a slight bigger brush. All right, so let me show you that. For the transition between the highlight and the shadow, just use a slight bigger brush and just brush between the transition. I like brushing in circle, it works for me. So instead of brushing like this, I like brushing in circle. All right, so that works for me. That's how I brush. So I'm going to brush on the transition. Sorry, mixer brush too. Okay, so I'm going to brush on the transition between the highlight and the shadow like this, and brush on this highlight on the nose separately, the highlight on the cheek separately. You can see I'm increasing my brush size. And to increase and decrease your brush size, make sure you are using the square bracket key on your keyboard to increase and decrease your brush size. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be brushing the face with this brush layer and create another empty layer to brush the body, so you can see how you can use multiple empty layers during frequency separation. All right, so I'm going to do that for the whole of the image right now. All right, so we are done mixing the colors. So let's see the before and after. So this is for the face. You can see one, I did one for the body and I did one for the face. So let's take a look at the face. See the before and the after. You can see we still have textures on the image and the image is still looking smooth. This is how I like my image for me personally. So the before and the after. The before and the after. And let's take a look at the body. All right, so see the before and the after. The before and the after. Now, another thing I'm still seeing some blemishes on the image, so I'm not going to take them out. Remember, to remove blemishes, pick your close stamp tool. Once you pick your close stamp tool, select your high texture copy layer, hold Option or Alt to sample, and just remove any blemishes you are seeing. Remember when I started, I said removing blemishes plays an important role on how smooth your image actually looks. So when you remove your blemishes, make sure you are taking your time to remove the blemishes very well. All right, so it plays an important role on how smooth or how good your image is going to look. All right, so like this works for me. So like I said earlier, if you feel this image is not smooth enough for you, you can actually create another frequency separation. Now to do that, come to your windows again, come to the action, and click on focus separation 16 bits. All right, like I said earlier, if you want your image to be smooth, use a low blur radius. So let's use 8 for this image. I don't use it. I use 10 for this type. I use 10 for this image. The one I edited, it's 10 I use. But for the sake of people that want their image to be smooth, you can go lower. But let's try 8 and see. So like we did earlier, hide your high texture layer, pick your mixer brush tool. Okay, then just paint on your image. All right, so the same thing we did. Make sure you're increasing your brush size, brushing the highlight separately, the shadow separately. Now, the only difference between this one and the one we did earlier is that it's going to be more smoother compared to the one we did earlier. So I'm going to do this quickly and show you the before and after. All right, so let's quickly do this and show you the before and the after. So if you're a type of person that wants your image to be smooth, you can keep doing this. If you feel this one is not enough for you, you can go lower, go lower, go lower until the face turns plastic. It's up to you, but 10 works for me. So let's just see the before and after. Now the goal right here is not to tell you this is the right one or this is the wrong one. The goal right here is to show you how you can get your desired results. All right, and this is how you can get your desired results. Now it's up to you to choose what you want. Okay, I hope you get the idea. All right, so let's quickly work on this part. All right, so let me quickly show you the before and after so you can see how smooth it is. All right, so take a look at the face, see the before and the after, the before and the after. So if you feel you like this one, good. If you want to go lower, go lower. But for me, I'm going to delete this one. I prefer this one right here. I still have the textures and the image is looking smooth. So this one works for me. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove those lines on the eyes and this hair right here and also this hair right here. Now to remove it, I want to add a new empty layer. Once I add a new empty layer, I'll pick my remove tool. Now if you don't have the remove tool, you need to update to the latest version of Photoshop. So once you pick your remove tool, I'm going to turn off my mode. My mode is generative AI is off. And I'm just going to paint on the line like this. And if you want to sample multiple, make sure this remove after a stroke is not selected. And just sample this part and this part right here. And click on OK. And it will automatically remove that line for us. So let's just wait for it to load. All right, it has finished loading. See the before and the after. The before and the after. So much better. Now next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to do my global dodge and burn to add dimension or depth to the image. So basically, I'm going to make the highlights more shiny and the shadows more darker just to add depth. Now to do that, inside the action you've already installed, like I said, I'm going to be using the action for this video. So come to your Windows, click on action and click on dodge and burn right here. Okay, now for dodge and burn, dodge is to brighten while burn is to darken. All right, now before I do that, I'm going to turn off my retouching layer, which is this focus separation layer, so that I can have the original image to see where the original highlight and shadow is for the image, because I just want to enhance the highlight and the shadow. And by the way, if you are getting value from this video, the only thing I want you to do is to share this video to someone who you think this video might help. Thank you. Once I turn off my retouching layer, I'm going to get my original image. Now I can see the original shadow and the highlights. So I'm going to pick my normal brush tool. Make sure I'm using a soft round brush, very important. Opacity set to 100 and take my flow to 30%. All right. Now once you do that, before you start brushing, make sure your foreground color is set to white. Because if it's on black and I try to paint, so let me take the opacity to 100 and I try to paint, anything is not going to happen because the mask is on black. But immediately I switch to white, if I paint right now, you can see the effect. And to switch to black and white, you can press X on your keyboard, or you can click on this arrow right here to switch between black and white. And if you have another color right here, you can just click on this small black and white icon right here to switch to default black and white. So once my foreground color is set to white, take my flow to 30%, reduce my brush size to fit the highlights which I want to brush. So I want to paint on the highlights. Since I'm on my dodge, I'm going to just paint on the highlights. All right, so anywhere there's highlights on the image, that's where I'll be dodging. So basically, I'm going to be dodging this part of the image. This part right here, there's highlights. This part this part here, 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 some parts of the lips here, this part. So basically, you get the idea. Anywhere there's highlights on the image, that's where I'm going to be dodging. While for the bun, I'm going to be burning this part of the nose, this part of the lips, all right, the cheek, this part right here. So this is just contour dodge and bun. I'm going to be burning this part, this part, this part, here, 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 here. So basically, anywhere there's shadow on the image is where I'm going to be burning. You get the idea how that works. So let's continue. So I've done the dodge. Now I'll come to the bun. Make sure I'm using a white brush. Make sure my foreground color is set to white rather, and take the flow to 0%. Okay. Once the flow is on 0%, I'm just going to burn this part. And if you are confused at any point, please just take the video back a little bit and watch it all over again, and I promise you are going to understand. Okay, so I'm going to dodge this part, this part, this part, burn this part rather, not dodge, burn this part, burn this part, burn this part, just to add dimension to the image. So I forgot to dodge here. I'm going to dodge here like so. All right, so once I do that, I want to turn on my retouching layer. Once I turn on my retouching layer, let's see the before and after dodge and burn. See the before and the after, the before and the after. And for me, if you feel it's too much, you can just reduce the opacity, or what you can do, which is what I do, with the layer mask selected, not the curves, the layer mask, come to Windows and click on Properties and just feather it a little bit and just going to spread the effect. All right, so I'll come to the dodge, do the same thing for the dodge, come to Windows, Properties, and just feather it a little bit like so. The before and the after, the before and the after. I still feel the dodge is I still feel the bun is looking too much, so I'm going to feather it more. So Properties, feather it more, maybe even reduce the opacity a little bit like so. All right, so that this works for me. The before and the after, the before and the after, better. Now this I'm going to do, I'm just going to whiten the eyes. So inside the action, come to your Windows, click on action again. So everything you need for scale retouching, everything you need for scale retouching is inside this my action. It's what I use to retouch my image, and I advise you use it as well. So once I open that action, I'm going to click on eyes and teeth whitening, and just once that group open for me, you can see we have a black layer mask. Remember, anytime we have a black layer mask, we want to reveal the effect. Make sure your foreground color is set to white with your normal brush tool to reveal that effect. Remember, we took down the opacity to 3, so take it back to 100%. Reduce your brush size and just paint on the eyes. So maybe you made a mistake like this. All you have to do is switch to a black brush or pick a eraser tool and just erase the mistake like that. Switch back to a white brush and just paint on your image like so. All right. So like this, I feel it's too much, so I'm going to take down the opacity to about 40. 40 works for me. The before and the after. The before and the after. All right. Now next I'm going to do, I'm just going to make the makeup and the lips pop even more. Now to do that, I'm going to come to my adjustment layer. If you can't find the adjustment layer here, come to your Windows again and click on adjustments, and your adjustment layer is going to open for you. So anything I'm mentioning right here, you can't find it, just come to your Windows and look for it right here. It's going to be here. All right. So once my adjustment layer open, I'm going to click on my vibrance adjustment and take the vibrance up, not the saturation, take the vibrance up. Okay. So after that, I'm going to invert this layer to hide the effect, because I want to apply this effect to only the makeup and the lips. Now to do that, I'm going to press Command I or Control I if you're using the Windows to invert. Once I invert, you can see the layer is hidden. Now the mask is on black. Now to reveal that effect, you know what to do. Pick your normal brush tool, make sure your foreground color is set to white, and just paint on the makeup or anywhere you want to reveal that effect on. Just like that. All right, so let's see the before and after. Take a look at the eyes and the lips now. See the before and the after. The before and the after. So much better. That's not all. To make it pop even more, come to the action again. Click on this unsharpen mask for eyes and lips right here. Now once you do that, it's just going to open this layer for you. Once this layer open for you, what you want to do is to pick your normal brush tool. Make sure your foreground color is set to white, because the layer mask is on black. I think I'm going to do a separate video for layer mask so you guys can understand how layer mask actually works. Now, since this layer mask is on black, I'm just going to paint on the eyes with a white brush to reveal that effect. So you can see, take a look at the lips and the eyes, see the before and the after, the before and the after. And if you can see, maybe because of YouTube corporation, just do it. I want you to watch the video and do it as you're watching the video. So just practice. All right. So I'm just going to reduce the opacity because I feel it's too much. So see the before and the after, the before and the after, looking so much better. And another thing I do inside this action, I add noise. So I want to click on digital noise right here. Once I click on digital noise, I'm just going to, if I zoom in now, you're going to see the noises all over the place. So just take down the opacity to about 15 or 10. 15 or 10 works for me. All right, so just add a little bit of texture, just make everything just come alive. So the before and the after. Now I'm going to group everything I did. All right, like this. So see the before and the after. The before, you can see how rough the skin is, and the after, you can see how smooth the skin is just by using frequency separation. Now that you know how to use frequency separation to smooth your skin, if you don't want to depend on actions and you want to learn how to create frequency separation action and use it by yourself from scratch, you can check out this video right here. It shows you how to do everything from scratch. I'll see you guys in my next one. Stay creative.